For this case comparison, I decided to look at two cases that have similar allegations for the teachers who were involved. However, the cases are around 10 years apart. I chose these two cases so I could see the difference of the results over 10 years and see where we've come since 2020. So let's get started. The first case I'm going to look at is a case that happened in 2010, Teachers versus Grecki. So Grecki committed acts of professional misconduct and there were several allegations towards him. More specifically, he failed to maintain the standards of profession. He abused a student and or students, and he failed to comply with the Education Act. The penalty decision after extensive evidence was presented was suspension of his certificate for 30 days, and the suspension was to be recorded on the registrar. Additionally, the member was to complete a course of instruction regarding appropriate boundaries and violation issues. Originally, there was an allegation involving the Education Act. However, if you look at these four subsections, the final decision doesn't include the subsections regarding the Education Act. But if you look at it as a whole, you can still see that the Education Act nowadays involves these subsections in some way, shape, or form. The next case I will look at will be from 2019. It's McDonald versus OCT. In this case, it is alleged that McDonald is guilty of professional misconduct outlined in the Education Act. More specifically, he failed to meet the standards of profession, abused a student verbally, physically, psychologically, and sexually, and he failed to comply with various sections of the Education Act. After reviewing the case, the penalty decision was the suspension of his certificate for 20 months. Additionally, he had to attend a course as well on professional boundaries and boundary violations with students and colleagues. These 6 regulations were outlined in the decision of the case and show what OCT regulations were not met. Unlike the previous case, this entire case focuses on the Education Act and how the teacher did not uphold his professional duties outlined in this act. Moreover, the decision made outlines this in the regulations of Section 1.15 and 1.18, which directly state the not upholding of the Education Act. In the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, we have a right to an education. Even though this charter doesn't exactly specify what this means, we as teachers need to ensure we are allowing for this right to unfold in our classrooms. This means abiding by the Ontario regulations and laws in terms of professional conduct, also adhering to the OCT Act and all their rules and regulations, and the Family and Child Services Act. We cannot ensure our students' right to education if we do not follow the policies and laws that we have as teachers. Therefore, these two cases kind of demonstrate how these teachers did not abide by the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, as they did not act in a manner that would allow students to properly participate in their right to education. The decision in both these cases here demonstrate how the Education Act has changed over time, having similar allegations in the facts that are shown in each of these cases, yet having the Education Act as part of only the 2019 case outcome demonstrate how we have adapted and changed our Education Act in order to advocate more for students and their safety. More research would need to be done to show the actual changes of the Education Act in terms of what they were looking at 10 years ago and what they were looking at in 2019. However, the notion that the Education Act and the standards outlined are shown throughout the entire 2019 case, and they're barely addressed in the 2010 case, just show how important the act is. I need to be aware as a future educator, and I need to educate myself on this act and the OCT Act to ensure I'm constantly showing professional conduct and I am aware of the changes that occur over time of the Education Act in order to adhere to these rules and regulations.